Welcome to the Special News Channel. The latest attacks of the Ukrainian armed forces have shattered the Russian army. Advancing at great speed, the Ukrainian warriors captured most of Kherson in the south. At the same time, as a continuation of the operation they started from the Kharkiv region, they have recently started hitting Russian targets in Donbass. While the M777 is the basis of these extraordinary destructive attacks, the intensity of the attacks brings new records with it. While the Ukrainian armed forces started the ground operation, it has also increased its long-range attacks in order to completely destroy the worn-out Russian regions. In the report published yesterday, it is stated that the Ukrainian armed forces carried out 75 fire strikes in one day. It is stated that these attacks were carried out by HIMARS. It is stated that the Ukrainian armed forces struck missile and artillery units, enemy manpower, and equipment clusters. It is also among the information that an attack of this intensity is a new record in the war that has been going on since February 24th. The situation in the operational zone of the south direction continues to progress in a stable and controlled manner. Russian troops continue defensive operations and try to hold the occupied lines. It was determined that Russia is preparing to evacuate separate units and military equipment from the right bank of the Kherson region. To this end, the Russian army is collecting the riverine fleet of naval vessels, installing pontoon crossings, trying to use the same alternative methods of crossing the Dnipro River, which were used to replace damaged bridges. Meanwhile, Russia continues to carry out massive attacks on Ukrainian territory. Using army aircraft, MLRS, barrel artillery, mortars, and kamikaze drones, it attacks defense forces positions, frontline areas, and areas far from the front. However, none of these attacks has as much impact as the glorious HIMARS attacks that Ukraine brought from the USA. The war in Ukraine proved the value of the M777. Some even call this piece of US-made artillery a giant sniper rifle. During both world wars, artillery was so devastating to enemy troops that it earned the nickname King of War, and the 7-month war in Ukraine proved that the reign of the high-caliber monarch was far from over. Russia has long been aware that its army will struggle to obtain or maintain air superiority against a NATO-level opponent, and it has built its war doctrine around the concept of crushing fire from artillery and heavy armor. In fact, it could even be argued that Russia considers its air force little more than airborne artillery. For its part, Ukraine not only repulsed the Russian offensive in the face of overwhelming numbers, technology, and firepower, but preliminary reports indicate that the ongoing counter-offensive in the south of the country is making rapid progress. The heroism of Ukrainian soldiers, volunteers, and foreign fighters cannot be underestimated, but their ability to stand and swing with Russian forces has been significantly boosted by large shipments of arms and ammunition from friendly countries such as the United States and its European allies. Among the earliest and most effective weapons delivered to Ukraine by the American army were artillery systems such as the 155mm M777 howitzer. Soon after their arrival in Ukraine in May, news began to appear on social media that M777 systems had destroyed Russian targets. There are many reasons why this weapon performed so splendidly. Chief among these is the fact that the US is packing the M777, a 16,000-pound gun, in a 40% smaller package. In 1979, the M198 155mm medium towing howitzer entered service for the United States. At 36 feet long and weighing about 16,000 pounds, the M198 can rain high explosive hell on targets from 14 miles by cycling with a team of 9 or 10 and firing 95-pound M107 shells. It was just as effective as the M198, but Army and Marine Corps leadership was almost instantly concerned about the battlefield mobility of the heavy artillery. By the 1990s, the US was once again shopping for a new artillery platform, one that could deliver the heavy hitting power of the M198 in a lighter and more mobile package. The initial response to these guns came in the form of an artillery system that had been in development in the UK since the 1980s, originally under the banner of Vickers Shipbuilding and Engineering. With a 35-foot-long, 16.7-foot barrel, this new artillery platform was only slightly shorter than the M198 and fired the same 155mm shells. But thanks to the extensive use of titanium and aluminium alloys in its construction, this new artillery platform was 40% lighter than the M198. The new M777 was so light that it could be hung under helicopters or delivered by any type of cargo plane, while it will take two C-130s to deliver an M198 artillery system to the battlefield. The entire M777 installation may come in just one. One of the best things about the M777 is that it floats like a butterfly but stings like 14 pounds of TNT. However, the lightweight construction of the M777 is not only valuable for air transportation. In war, where artillery teams regularly fire and flee, the lightness of the M777 makes it easy to break apart and move quickly. In fact, well-trained crews can disassemble and reassemble the M777 for transport in about 3 minutes in about the same time. Its lightweight means that when traveling, the M777s can drive through muddy roads and wet areas that can hinder the progress of heavier weapon systems. The M777 also received improved high-explosive shells. The 103-pound M795 that carries 24 pounds of TNT and offers a kill radius of 70 meters. Every M795 carries the devastating firepower of a Hellfire missile, but is delivered at only a fraction of the cost. The crew can reach targets 19 miles away by firing 5 shots per minute from these huge projectiles. Newer GPS-guided projectiles with deployable stabilizer fins, known as the M982 Excalibur, can reach even farther. The M777 may have been made from the same materials as the SR-71, but Uncle Sam continued to trick his new howitzer even after it entered service in 2005. Throughout the 2010s, all of America's M777s received full-bore chrome-coated barrel tubes, which are set to extend their service life by up to 300%. In 2017, a single Marine M777 battery fired more than 35,000 rounds at ISIS targets in Syria in just 5 months. Hence, the effectiveness of this upgrade has been proven in battle. That's more than any 155mm artillery shell fired by the entire US military during the 2003 invasion of Iraq. However, despite this incredible volume of fire, the Marine Corps fired only 2 of these new chrome-plated barrels in the process. Other upgrades include the addition of precision-guided fuse kits, which reduce the margin of error by 85% in targeting high-explosive projectiles in 2016, and increased accuracy from a margin of 200 meters to less than 30. With a blast radius of 70 meters, this leap in accuracy effectively provides a direct hit when M777 teams have good targeting data. With these equipment, HIMARS was sent to Ukraine as a complete hell weapon and smashed them, as no long-range artillery of the Russian army was this skilled. While Ukrainian forces have demonstrated how effective this light howitzer can be in modern warfare, most of those seeing use in Ukraine seem to benefit from a manual targeting system. These systems require the crew to calculate the distance to the target and then adjust the gun sight. But in American hands, the M777 turns from a blunt instrument to a 155mm scalpel. America's M777 crews now use a digital fire control system operated via a tablet computer that allows them to quickly identify and engage targets without having to do any math. This not only speeds up the firing process, but also eliminates user error from battlefield stress or exhaustion. It seems that this method has been used by the Ukrainians recently and has dispersed the Russian targets by acting sensitively, so to speak, like a doctor performing an operation with a scalpel. Vladimir Putin repeatedly tried to attack and stop Ukraine's HIMARS, but with no success. HIMARS now seems to be the only king of the field.